Good day, I'm Tamara McHale and this is your GIS News for Wednesday, September 14. Government has awarded Jamaica's third domestic mobile spectrum license to Symbiote Investments Limited, operators of Carousel, the island's first fully Jamaican-owned service provider. Prime Minister Andrew Holness confirmed the agreement in a statement to Parliament yesterday. It follows a report by the Office of the Contractor General advising against awarding the license as a result of adverse traces on one of the company's directors.
That the adverse traces cited in the special OCG report related to information gathered as far back as 2009, that the police have advised that the party in question is not currently the subject of any investigation. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, the non-issuance of the spectrum license and the circumstances which we have outlined would be tantamount to a revocation of the grant of the said license and would be in violation of the principles of natural justice.
The Prime Minister says Cabinet came to its decision after careful consultations with the Attorney General, Office of the Utilities Regulation, Spectrum Management Authority, Jamaica Constabulary Force and Symbiote Investments. Meanwhile, he says the Spectrum Management Authority will deal with claims that Symbiote was using the spectrum without the requisite approvals. And going forward, Cabinet will be implementing several recommendations for strengthening the regulation of the telecom sector, including clear standards to determine whether applicants for licenses are fit and proper.
An overall review of the legal and regulatory framework for the telecommunications industry to correct drafting deficiencies and other weaknesses, to reflect contemporary realities, including the emergence of new technologies, and to cover issues such as equipment testing, as well as emergency use of spectrum by the security forces, will be undertaken.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness also updated Parliament yesterday on steps to rectify the adverse findings from an audit of the Factories Corporation of Jamaica FCJ. In addition to hiring a new board, Mr. Holness said the FCJ's organizational structure was being reviewed. Court proceedings have meanwhile started to recover $109 million for properties sold by the entity, while other land use matters are being resolved.
The FCJ can be an engine of growth, and the board has been charged to move with alacrity to get these projects off the ground. Work has started on the infrastructure for phase 1 of the 120,000 square feet Nagohead Tech Park. And that would mean, Mr. Speaker, that there will be more employment in the business process management sector. Mr. Speaker, they have commenced work on the rehabilitation of the Garmex Free Zone Complex, and that is going apace.
Other long-term strategies include the establishment of a corporate governance committee to comply with the laws governing public bodies. In the meantime, Prime Minister Holness promised to provide an update on a similar audit carried out at the Port Authority of Jamaica in 2 weeks' time. The committee set up by the Prime Minister to review the recommendations from the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry has submitted its first report to Cabinet. The committee is chaired by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck and includes Local Government Minister Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports Olivia Grange, National Security Minister Robert Montego, and Attorney General Marlene Malahoo Fort. Minister Chuck says the report, which was submitted on Monday of this week, is the first of several periodic submissions on how to implement the 15 recommendations that are contained in the Commissioner's findings from the inquiry. Matters for consideration include restoring and promoting trust and confidence in the state, compensating victims for property damage, wrongful death and injuries, controlling the use of force by state security agencies, and dismantling garrisons and mitigating the conditions that give rise to them. Pointing out that some recommendations will require extensive administrative and legislative changes, Minister Chuck says the Cabinet Committee is looking at structures and the management of the implementation process. The Jamaica Agricultural Society JAS will be strengthening its partnership with Food for the Poor to increase local corn production. JAS President Norman Grant says Food for the Poor will be providing planting material through a memorandum of understanding to support a national corn planting program.
We will be distributing it to farmers island-wide, and we're hoping that that now will go into a cycle that will assist the feed industry and that will assist other industries.
Mr. Grant says the MOU also includes providing assistance for housing, tools and other equipment. He was speaking at the JAS's recent board meeting. And finally, the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, is implementing a number of trash-free initiatives as it intensifies public education on proper waste management practices. They include a trash-free seas project that was launched in collaboration with the United Nations Environment Programme.
Under this initiative, we are seeking to work with different entities such as the US Peace Corps to get different community groups to adopt more responsible waste management practices. So each of the Peace Corps volunteers with support from NEPA and UNEP will be engaging the communities, helping them to design projects that will help them to manage their waste better.
NEPA's public relations officer was speaking at a JIS think tank last Friday. She said the agency was also working with several supermarkets, pharmacies and other establishments to encourage Jamaicans to reduce the use of plastic bags and utilize reusable bags instead. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.